How far would you go to protect your loved ones? To prove your worth to them? How far are you willing to push yourself in the name of retaining your humanity? What would it take to get you to sacrifice it willingly? Would you hurt others? Hurt yourself? Would you break the heart of the very person you swore to keep safe? Would you break the world? Would you kill God? This is the story of one man as he fights against the currents of his better nature to remain the protector he believes himself to be. This is the story of a mortal as he is pushed to the edge of his morality, as he is pushed to seek punishment against the gods for their crimes against their creation, against him. This is Godkiller Retribution. The great city of Etuvaras is vast and sprawling. A top-down view would show it is organized in a vaguely elongated octagon. Concentric walls of dark gray stone line the outer walls and delineate the various districts and class distinctions. No one is destitute here, but the performance of luxury becomes more and more apparent the closer one moves to the center of the city. The Dark's fulcrum sits at the very center, a monument of black stone that towers over the rest of the city, housing the ruling family and is the main discussion of city domestic policy. A grand staircase hugs the outer wall of the building as it circles up and up to the sovereign's throne room. Surrounding the fulcrum are the four most cherished districts of Etuvaras: Empire Foreign Policy and the Merchants District, the Educational District, the Clerical District, and the Artisans District. The stone walls encasing these districts follows the same octagonal design as the outer walls of the city. Paired with the circular roof of the fulcrum, it creates a shape that Etuvar himself has lovingly called the Eye. As the gods watch over the world, Etuvaras watches back. You've finally made it to the Grand Empire's capital. The gates are large and sprawling wrought iron, intricately woven to keep dangers out and secrets in. You're let in pretty easily by the guards when you present the invitation, as it were, that you received a little over a month ago. Or has it been a month? It takes a month roughly to get to on foot. Whether you would have had the wherewithal or the money to purchase transport, whether that's a caravan or a horse of your own, that's up to you.
The money, certainly. Wherewithal, definitely. Understanding logically that it would be faster, but I'm more concerned with the actual time frame that I have, and if I know that I have the time, I would prefer to travel on foot. As always, I'm quieter. It's more reliable. I know myself more than I know any other creature.
You've made it just in time for the final day of this registration period for this event called the Ruby Calling. As you walk down, your boots clack, clack, clacking on the dark stone, you look around left to right. It's a busy, sprawling place. There doesn't really seem to be a dead area of this city. And as you move further and further towards the center, a low-laying fog sort of wisps around everyone's ankles. You don't see an obvious origin for this fog. It just seems to be present wherever you are. It doesn't obstruct your vision. It just sort of wisps around and follows whoever who walks through its path for a quick moment before sort of cascading off into a random direction. And As you're walking down, you were given instructions by one of the guards, and you're following those instructions. You're following where you were told you ought to go, and it's taking you down sort of a main thoroughfare in this city. And as you get closer and closer to the center of the city, I want to know what's going on through your head after you've made this journey, after you've made it finally to your destination.
The first thing I would think to look for, honestly, is the gaze of others. Moving through crowds of this size, it's very unusual for me. It's been a long time. Actually, it might be the first time for a crowd of this size, for a place of this size, so I kind of need to know, am I being passed over as I expect to be?
As you make your way down, you're not walking particularly briskly as if you're in a hurry. You know you have enough time until registration truly closes for this event. But it's early yet in the day, and that cutoff ends in many, many hours. As you walk down at this sort of leisurely but determined pace, no one really gives you any mind. And a part of you, I think, is relieved by this, but a part of you also expected this. People are chatting amongst themselves. If a group or even an individual comes across your path, they seem to just naturally sort of drift out of your way, as if they were always going to take those steps and change their direction, even if just slightly. Even when you round a corner and there's someone there and it seems like you might bump into them, they seem to just take a step to their side, or their attention is called to something at the last minute, but you are unseen.
Good. I see better when I'm unseen. So I'm going to look around using my position, my advantage, and I'd like to see if I can absorb a little bit of what the ecosystem is here to ground myself in a place. In this place. I need to know, has the city woken up completely, or what is the flow of traffic through merchant areas? Who's selling what? What is the hierarchy? I think I need to feel this place out.
All right. When you try to feel out a person, place, or thing, say what you want clarity about and answer one. The GM will give you the clarity you seek as they answer the other. So would you like to answer what feels welcoming on the surface, or what feels dark or unnerving as you peer deeper?
I think at this time, it's more important that I learn what to be gravitated toward. I think I already know what feels dark and unnerving. It's the crowd, it's what to come, it's not knowing what's to come. I'm definitely lingering on that point, not knowing. It's being so far out of my routine, so far away, and all I can do is focus my purpose here and feel in my heart that what I'm doing is right. So I know what's dark. Everything here unnerves me, but I'm looking for what is welcoming. Anything, literally anything to move toward.
And I think the guard at the main gate did give you a beautifully crafted but ultimately rudimentary map of the capital city. You know you're not the only kind of person traveling to the city for this event. There are spectators and specialist merchants who have been traveling to the city. So I think the sovereign had tourist information, if you will, created for those who don't normally live here to be able to get around and to know what's going on. So you're following this map based on the guard's instructions and the way that you've been traveling. the sort of kinds of dress that you've seen and the conversations that you've been overhearing. You know you're walking pretty much west as you came from the east. The registration offices are at the Dark's Fulcrum, at the tower that houses the sovereign and the central government. And you're walking west, which is towards the Artisans District. It's one of 2 districts that will be on either side of you as you get closer to the Fulcrum. And you think back to twinkling silver and a glowing smile, and if there was any place that she would have found her home here, it would be the Artisans District. And you keep making your way, and that thought lingers on your mind. There seems to be a commotion as you finally reach a walled part of the city that does indeed have a little plaque that says the Artisans District on it. And you look off maybe 500 feet away, and there's another wall, and on the far side you can't see what it says, but you can see another plaque that labels something. And based on the map and based on what you know, you assume it's to designate the Merchants and Policy District. As you're walking up, you cross through the barrier, through another set of beautiful, intricate wrought iron gates. These ones are more adorned than the main gates, more intricate. And as you enter into the Artisans District, you see stalls on either side. You see people selling their wares of things necessary and luxury, jewelry versus cutlery. And it feels a lot like the plaza back in Yali. You see multiple smiths of different kinds working with a companion who's working a stall front to entertain any people who come looking at what they're doing. You see craftsmen engaging each other in academic discussion on fields shared and not shared. And as you're walking down, you're getting closer and closer to the center. You see a large crowd of people gathering, looking at something. They're whispering amongst themselves excitedly as if some sort of event or some sort of spectacle is happening. What do?
I get as close as I can without being seen. If no one's watching me, could I actually get up to a high vantage point, maybe up on a building or something? Could I climb up somewhere I can see down into the crowd, down into what's happening?
Yeah, I think there are sort of, within this district, there are apartments where you can live above you work, that kind of thing. And so there are steps up to different, rows of apartments that would lead to someone's front doorstep. But for you, you're just using it as pure utility, just to get up to be able to see. And as you climb up, you see that there's sort of a parade happening. You see multiple beautiful carriages, not unlike the one that visited Yali a month ago. But some of them are closed, some of them are open-roofed. And you see in one of these open-roofed carriages, you spot something bright, and your eyes are immediately drawn to it. You barely have time to look at any of the other people that are in this parade. It is like laser focus, and you know it's her. But you question it just for a moment. Lilac skin and roiling stormy eyes have been replaced by a pale gray complexion with just a tinge of the purple that used to be there, and sparkling rubies. You would have never guessed she used to wear the cloth and hides and woven fabrics of the mountains. The way the silk lace and velvet of her noble dress sits on her frame. She looks healthier than when you last saw her. She's filled out, no longer just a step above skin and bone. Her skin is mostly smooth now from what you can see, save for the ghost of a scar that rides up her neck and along her left jawline. There are some things that are the same. The things that confirm for you that you are indeed looking at who you think you're looking at. Her lips are still plush and slightly pouted at all times, despite the 2 small fangs that gently push past the line of her mouth and dig into her bottom lip. Her eyes hold the same kind gaze as she greets various other nobles and waves at the more common folk in the parade. But what initially caught your attention was her hair. Ever the shining silver star flowing in the day's gentle breeze just as you remember it. It's a bit longer now, reaching her armpits rather than her shoulders, but you could not mistake it for the world. You know it's her, your Tlali. She doesn't see you much like everyone else. She doesn't even know that you're there. Seeing her like this, seeing her new form, how are you feeling in this moment?
Before I answer, I have a question that might seem odd. Are there birds here, just sort of naturally occurring? Maybe something like a pigeon, anything in that realm?
I think there are, but I don't think that there are many of them. This is a place that is so manufactured by mortal hand that there's not a lot of vegetation, there's not a lot of plants around. There's no trees that grow and sort of line the streets. So I think there are some small black birds that just sort of jump around the ground, scavenging for food when someone is very clearly eating something. But there's not a lot.
Okay. As I'm perched up here, looking down, and I do mean perched, crouching on the lip of this overlook, my elbows are on my knees as I'm hunched forward, balancing seemingly effortlessly, my head cocked to the side at the slightest angle. My eyes, which are normally very narrowed and discerning, widen like a lens unfocusing, to take in a wider view. The points of my ears twitch somewhat, trying to keep me aware of the rest of the world. I'm not used to locking in on something that I'm not intending to kill. Locking in, locking on for a different reason. But my ears remember their purpose. And I hear the sound of one of these birds. And I'll reach up as quietly as I can, and I'll take my spear out, and I'll rest it crossways against, like, the back of my traps. And then I loop. I hook my arms up and around it so that my wrists are dangling over, draping so that it become something of a letter T. And I try to stay very still. Make myself like a scarecrow, trying to have this wooden perch look inviting to one of these birds to flutter over and perch next to me on the butt of the spear. In fact, the point where my 2 feathers are tied to the spear, one white and one black, I want to try and have them catch the breeze a little bit, maybe use it to my advantage.
Well, the question is, does your spear fall into the sort of aura that hides you? Would a bird even know to land there?
Maybe if I sacrifice a little bit of the quiet. Can I try to listen for the calls that they're making? Any slight sort of whistling and chirping? Listen hard and then try to replicate it just slightly.
I think it's a melodic but also staccato chirping. And I think you're able to take the side of the nail of your thumb and run it across your spear in a way that sort of mimics that staccato sound, and it sounds pretty close, if not a little metallic. And you watch as a couple birds who were sort of perched up above you look down with almost an intelligence to them that you didn't expect. And one of them decides to be brave and hops down and lands where your thumb was making that noise.
So I tilt my head just slightly, but not my eyes. Just move my ear, direct the corner of my mouth to where this bird is, but still locked onto Tlali, and just begin to say very, very softly, "Now would you look at that? All of them down there are so fortunate to know how fortunate they are to stand in her presence, to have the wherewithal to worship her from afar. But you, my friend, I cherish your company. You are like me. At first glance, you don't know better. Watch with me a while. Watch." And I begin to search. I begin to listen between the beats of my heart as they quicken for some truth, for some morality in this, some deeper justification for my being here, something noble and not selfish. And when I don't find it, I just linger in a sensation I'd hoped was not forgotten. Pure, silent ecstasy, just to be here and watch. I realized that I thought that her change in appearance would be harder to swallow. And then out loud, responding to my own thoughts, I just say, "It's not." And then, finally, I will turn my head all the way to the bird. "Do you know how beautiful it is what you see?" "Perhaps it's best that you do not."
And the bird, almost like it understands you, looks back to Tlali as she sort of curves around and is now facing away from the both of you. And she does something that is so familiar. She flips her hair over her shoulder gracefully and then rolls that shoulder. And it takes you instantly back to the first time you met. Can you tell us what kind of day it was when you met her for the first time?
It was a crisp, late morning. A morning that I had taken my time, savored my morning coffee, sat outside looking up in the craggy faces of the mountains and trying to create shapes and personalities in my mind for each of them. Giving them names and lingering there even after I'd gotten to the bottom of my cup. And only when the cup cooled did I finally feel the urge to actually greet the town. And it was crisp and fresh and on the border of warm. Above cool, but not quite warm. And I remember this because I swear to this day that I felt the change. I felt that border get crossed. And I knew it wasn't just me when I saw her. The world knew. It knew to raise its warmth to meet her.
You had gone to the market, as you had done many times before. And you were making your rounds, making pleasant conversation, more smiles on your face then than certainly are now. And you spotted a new stall that you hadn't seen before. It was dark wood inlaid with beautiful silver, simply saying Tlalis on a plaque and nothing else. It gave off the appearance that just that single word was a labor of love. That was the only thing that this new proprietor could afford. But they had put everything, all of their pride and all of their effort into making it clear that this stall was theirs. And as curiosity got the better of you, you walked up and you saw a single figure facing slightly away from you, hunched over, and the small but fast tinkering of some sort of metal instrument on metal. And I think you stand there for a moment, just watching this person taking in what they had for sale, which was mostly small things. A small mirror here, a small cutlery set there. The craftsmanship undeniable. Everything was intricate. Everything was well thought out. You could tell this just from a quick glance, and as you watch this person tinkering away, they flip their hair back and roll their shoulder before leaning back in their chair and taking a deep breath. And then it's like they're brought back to the fact that they're a person in a public space, and they whip their head around and they lock eyes with you. Are you... Oh, hi, yes, sorry, were you standing there long? I certainly hope not. That would be rude of me. And you see that this person, who you presume to be Tlali, is roughly the same age as you. They have the face of a deer caught in torchlight, as if they've been caught doing something nefarious, yet all they were doing was just their work. And you can watch their face sort of go through multiple thoughts of what is the next appropriate thing to do in this moment. And you see she sort of jumps once more, having made it a decision. And she goes, "Oh, you might be here to buy things. I should probably show you those things that you want to buy. Okay." And then she swivels around in her seat and knocks into the table she was working on, and a couple of metal bits and bobs clatter to the floor.
I try to catch the most important looking one.
And I think you just do it. I think you've always been a hunter, so you can see the trajectory of things before they happen. And your arm is already reaching out to catch something as you begin to watch her spin in place. And as you catch it, you see that she was making a teapot. She was trying to attach the handle to it, and you catch the entire thing. And she sort of looks at you and goes, "Oh my God, okay, I am so sorry. That was my latest creation. I've never made something like this before, so I was really focused on it, and whew, okay, I'm so sorry that you had to do that. Thank you for doing it and catching it, but oh my God, I'm so sorry."
Please, do not be. You are new here, I see.
Yes, this is my first day selling here in Yali. I'm from Laka originally, and I just thought it would be good to branch out, and see the other mountain folk, and see where all the ore that I work with gets mined and everything.
Well, knowing the good people of my home, I imagine I must not be the first person to welcome you, as much as I would love the honor. But please do not feel sorry for this. This is my routine and my calling, as it were. I walk this place and protect and provide as best as I can. It makes me happy. More so now to have you be a part of it. Forgive me. I am Vos.
Tlali from Laka. But right now I guess I'm Tlali and Yali. And she holds out her hand to shake yours. Very enthusiastically.
I reach into a pocket very quickly and palm something that you can't see. And when I go to shake her hand and my hand comes away, there will be a perfectly flat, smooth rock left in her palm.
And I think she looks down at this rock and pauses for a moment before she thumbs it into her 4 fingers, and it is truly perfectly smooth, and her eyes get big as if she has some sort of thought of what to do with this rock, and she looks up at you and she says, "This is very cool."
Well, I am very glad you think so. This is of great importance to this place. Not this one specifically, of course, just in concept. And to me personally as well. Forgive the surprise. I simply thought it was not fair that in our first meeting you have given me the gift of a smile and shown me something important to you. This is what you have built here. So I felt I owe you something in return. This is a perfect thing. Tell me, in the time that you have been here, has anyone told you the tale of the perfect rock?
And I think it's full trust, right? Like, she doesn't really know much about the other towns in the mountains. You can tell that this is a person who's only stayed in one place their whole life up until this point, and now they're very eager to get out and explore. And so it's full trust. And they look at you, their eyes wide, holding the stone in 2 hands now, almost like a sandwich, but it's a rock. And they say, "No."
It is an old story here, passed down from generation to generation. My mother told it to me when I was a boy, her mother and father before that, and so on and so forth. I don't think I fully understood it, exactly what it meant then. But I don't think you are supposed to the first time. Would you like to hear?
Well, now I have to know.
I smile widely. Take a deep, deep breath, bringing in all of the smells and lingering flavors on the air of this market, and begin to very animatedly, with my hands, tell this story. Long ago, longer now than any of us here can remember, there were 2 brothers taking a stroll together alongside the river. The elder brother, he was a pious man, a priest in fact, known for his serious demeanor. It was said around the town that he never cracked a smile, not since he was a small boy. And his younger brother, much to the chagrin of the elder, he had yet to find a vocation for himself. He was largely known to spend most of his time in leisure, shall we say, spending it in the company of those who brought him pleasure.
She snickers at that.
And he was as well an artist, always taking in the glory of nature and painting what he saw or writing about it in his journal, which he kept with him on this particular day. And as they walked, something caught the younger brother's attention. He saw, nestled down in the riverbank, a perfectly smooth, flat rock just like the one that you now hold. And he held it up with a wide smile on his face. He held it up to his brother and he said, "Look, brother, bask in the glory of Ville, that they would make for us a perfect thing." The elder brother scowled, his face reddened, and he flew into a rage. He snatched the rock out of his younger brother's hand and held it up. How dare you say such blasphemous bile in my presence? The gods do not create perfect things. They themselves are not even perfect things. They created us in their image, and we must not be so arrogant as to say that we could ever be perfect, for then we would be saying, so too are they. Nature does not make perfection. And he took the rock and he tossed it into the river. But then something most curious happened. You see, as the two brothers watched, instead of sinking into the water, the rock skipped across the surface once, twice, 3 times, all the way across until it landed perfectly in the bank across on the other side. And then something even more curious happened. You see, the elder brother, who was known not to have been seen with a smile on his face, not since he was a boy, suddenly felt something erupting from deep inside himself, bubbling up in him. And as his younger brother watched, a laugh, childlike, burst out of his mouth. And he clasped his hands to his face, shocked at what had happened. But despite himself, the warmth was still on his cheeks, as his younger brother took him by the hand and simply said, "Now, brother, now you understand the glory of Ville. Now you understand a perfect thing."
As you finish this story, your new friend looks up at you, and there's a look on their face like they're looking into a fire at the end of a long but satisfying day. A sort of serenity that comes with contentment. And they place the rock down on their stall shelf, their storefront display table, next to all of these beautiful, intricate metal offerings. A perfect rock and a perfect story for a perfect day. And then she unexpectedly shoots up. She stands, places both hands on the table, and leans in and says, "Vos from Yali, I will make a perfect thing with this perfect rock by the next time you see me."
Oh, thank you, but there is no need to promise me such a thing. You have already given me something perfect today.
And you flash a winning smile, and her eyes dart to a lamp that she's placed on the table so that people can inspect her things. And she turns the knob down a little so that the light dims, but your eyes are too quick as you see a very faint pink tinge come to her cheeks.
I feel in this moment, I know already that we've connected, but I do need to lean into it. I remember that moment so clearly. It felt like the most important impulse I could ever ride. Felt like a door had suddenly opened and I had to run through it. I had to burst through it, so I'm going to attempt to connect.
When you try to connect with someone, tell them something intimate and answer one. The GM will reveal a fragment of their pain as they answer the other. What common ground do we share, and what still divides us now?
I've just shared the intimate thing, and I know what still divides us. It's something exciting. It's that we've only just met. It's that the door only just opened. What still divides us is that which won't for much longer. I want to know what we share already.
She is bashful in this moment. You have always been an attractive man. You get the sense that you are also the first person of the day to engage her in such a long and meaningful conversation based on how surprised she was at your approach. But there's a mirth to her. There is a determination in her eyes that will never leave. What common ground you share is that you both see potential and seek potential. You both want to do better, to be better. You both strive for perfection without sacrificing perspective. The very first thing that she said after you told this story is that she was going to make something with what you just gave her.
Back in the present moment, I had turned my head away from her for a moment to address this bird. But I'd like to point out that when I did this, she had moved out of my field of vision for a moment, maybe blocked by someone in the crowd. But out of the corner of my eye, she does come back into view as the crowd shifts. And so I turn my head again fully to look at her. She never knew this. But in that moment, way back then when we first met, in my mind, I swore to myself that whenever I could see her, she would have my full attention.
Oh my God. And for just a moment more, we're back in the memory. And we see a smile break across your younger self's face. And then it fades back once more to yourself in the present. That same smile now on your face. And you don't remember it spreading, but it's here as you watch her leave. Is there anything else that you do in this moment? Anything that you are thinking or that you feel?
When she's completely out of my line of sight, I make no great effort to try and determine where she's going. It's not my business. But only then, I really take in the smile and note that it isn't really going away. And there's a flicker of fear in my eyes, that it's an emotion I can't control. But there's not happiness. It's there too. In fact, ever since I felt fear, a month ago now, for the first time in a very long time, now that it's popped up again, it ignites that happiness. And I realize on some level, I'm chasing that ability. It makes me feel more like myself. But it's fleeting. It leaves me as she leaves my field of vision. But the ghost of it is there. It's all very confusing. I expected it to be confusing. But I turn, still smiling incongruently with my eyes to this bird, and I take out a small bit of bread that I got on the way, just some ration or something, and I crumble up a piece of it, and I tip the staff of the spear just enough not to disturb the bird, but to sort of roll the crumbs down to the bird. Let it rest there. Still smiling, I point at this smile as the smile doesn't reach my eyes, but I can't make it go away. And pointing at it, I tell this bird, "See now? See, this is why I called you here to bear witness. What an odd thing this is. A pity you cannot do the same.
And this whole time, you've been facing towards Tlali at the banister of the stairs. And you hear over your shoulder, "It's a good look on you." Smiling, that is.
I simply stand up, still very much on the lip of this overlook, this perch, for a moment. It almost looks like I'm going to leap off. But then I just lift up one foot and sort of turn on my heel. But still keeping the cross-section of the spear, probably disturbing the bird at this point. But I wheel around, and the smile is gone. It cracked apart like he just struck it with a hammer. And it's just back to its usual flat line, as is my heartbeat. Whatever could you be talking about?
The little bird that had been keeping you company flutters away at the swirl of your motion. You watch it flap its wings once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times, as it gently but very quickly flies the couple feet away from you and lands on Etuvar's shoulder. He gives it a little scritch right under the beak, and it shakes its feathers out in the way that birds do. He's posted up against the front door of whoever's apartment this is. His arms are crossed in front of him as he leans back. His ankles also crossed, very casual, very relaxed. And he plays with the end of his incredibly long hair between 2 fingers. Not like he was or is bored. It almost strikes you like he's trying to put you at ease. The fact that he is so casual, he's trying to make you feel like he's not a threat to you.
I'm trying to determine if that would even work. I'm fully engrossed in the process of trying to feel if it's working. What is he doing? And that's as far as it gets. But I think my attention is still on the bird. This is a very interesting thing. And there's a skepticism that comes back, which feels much more natural than this odd emotional calculus that I'm trying to do. Now, did you attract this friend with your unnatural magnetism? Or was he one of yours to begin with?
Do you want to feel this situation out?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think I was considering that it was something so serious. I honestly think I was talking to him in such a casual way of just like, what did you just do? How much are you meddling in my life right now? And there's something like ding in my brain at that question as it occurs to me. But yeah, I do want to engage with the idea that it could occur to me or not that there's actually a very serious concern that I should have. It's like how much of my interactions that I think I am initiating and things that I think that I am doing of my own volition that seem totally normal are actually just cosmic industry plants. So yeah, let's do that.
Now, is that what feels dark or unnerving? The concept that in this moment you're thinking, oh, wait, maybe my whole life is being manipulated right now.
100%. That is exactly what the problem is. There's a running theme that's happening here with all of these acts that have like 2 options. and I get to choose which one I'm feeling or determining for myself and which one I don't know and need to figure out. So it makes sense that I'm choosing the darker option every single time because that's the world that I live in. I know what is uncomfortable. I know what is unsettling. I know all of this. So what I'm always searching for in this very unwelcoming environment is something welcoming. With a god, it's no different. In fact, it's more important.
What feels welcoming on the surface is... He kind of chuckles, and he drops the lock of hair he was playing with, and he throws it behind his shoulder and rolls that same shoulder before coming to cross his arms again. And he says, "Don't worry. I didn't mean to spy. It's just... I know what's going on in my city at all times. These little friends, they're dear to me." And he scratches the bird under the beak once again. And it returns to you now the simple fact that this is his house. This is Etuvaras. It is named after him. This is the center of vampire society, who are his children. You get the sense that he just hangs out here, and these little birds, because they live here, you think he can maybe sort of talk to them the way that you were talking to them. And you get the sense that he's being honest. He didn't mean to be spying on you for however long he's been standing there. But a little bird told him that you were here.
They are dear to me, you say. These are words that I must take on faith. In any case, I have tried to do some homework on the divine since our last encounter. I do not mean to seem hostile towards you. You are not the one who wronged me. So I do hope that you are patient as I acclimate myself to your presence in my life. I have yet to have your kind touch my life in a positive regard. Not that I know of, anyway. And again, I mean no rudeness, no disrespect. Your advice was valuable. And so here I am doing quite literally God knows what. So, you seem forthright. I would like to believe... Actually, no, I would like to know for a fact that it is so. Besides, often the world and its children are better judges of character than other creations can be. Gesturing to myself. So I suppose I will ask plain. What is it that you want from me?
That's funny. I came here to ask you the same.
I am not in the business of asking for help. I am no fool. I know how that sounds. Heroes from stories always solitary until it does not suit them anymore and they learn a valuable life lesson. That is not me. I simply know what I am capable of. And I think I know what I am here to do. My intention was simply to do it. I have no reference point for what you could possibly do for me. And again, I do not mean this as an insult. I simply do not know. And I, up until this point, have been perfectly prepared to act alone.
I guess when one is out of their depth, one does not always know such a fact to be true. I'm here to warn you. I informed you of this opportunity because it would make her happy. But you need to know that your presence here is a dangerous one. I have no intention of harming you. I have every intention of touching your life in a positive way, as you put it. But the others. And his face darkens when he says the others. Not all, but certainly some. They do not share my compassion for you in your situation. And you know that he is implying that the other gods are here.
Okay. I don't suppose you would tell me of their intentions, with me or otherwise.
And he puts a hand on the doorknob of this apartment and turns it, and it unlocks for him. And he gestures for you to walk inside.
Is this not someone's... Does someone not live here?
And he just stares at you.
No, they are all yours, of course. I walk inside, but immediately I'm looking around like, is this okay?
And when you walk inside, you are not met with an apartment or a house. You are met with a void blacker than black. There is nothing. There is just darkness around you. But you can make out yourself and the little bird and him. Do you know what it is you wear on your neck? And although you can see the outline of him, his voice comes disembodied all around you.
In truth, I try not to think about it. It is a tool. I use it for good.
And within the blink of an eye, he gets very close to your face very quickly. So quick that it generates wind that disturbs your hair as it blows past you. Red pinpricks of light reflect in the center of his pupils from a light source that does not exist, and it gets very, very cold. And he is taller than you, so he is looming down at you with an intensity that you've only heard of from religious sermons and clergymen in your travels. This is the part of Etuvar that commands respect. You wear my cousin on your neck, the last piece of him. And he waits for you, judging your reaction.
My eyes widen and I begin to shake, but it's only involuntary for a second. And then it goes away, and I make the split-second decision to start doing it voluntarily, to give the illusion of being afraid of him. But in truth, I'm actually right back in my head again about the nature of my own fear. I'm chasing it, and every time I feel it, I'm getting closer. Closer to that thing that I am looking for. I'm not proud of being fearless. It's just a fact, and I use it as needed. It's usually beneficial, but at this moment, it's not beneficial. It is a survival mechanism that I am notably lacking. So, once again, when it touches me, I realize all at once what I am actually afraid of, and it is not Etuvar. It is the idea that something is touching my life again, that these beings, Etuvar included, because again, I really don't know him. It's that these beings will just do what they want. They decide when and where they want to act. And that is in the way of this very clear, very important goal that I have come here to fulfill. That scares me far more than he does, or that this show does. But nevertheless, I also am trying to gauge his reaction. I want to know if I can fool him into thinking that I am scared of him.
And he searches your face for a long time. And his mouth quirks slightly upwards as if he is satisfied, amused, maybe a mix of both. Your power comes from my cousin's last final act before he fell to this earth. He cast his final piece of divinity down to be hidden. But it was found by you and by her.
It was never my power. I have never thought of it as such. My power is my skill and my will, both of which I had before I found this rock. If it is going to be a hindrance to me, well, then I suppose I owe you my thanks now for telling me so. If I may, allow me to ask you a question. Do they want it back?
Oh, yes. You see, the gods are using this ruby calling as a way to find champions of their own, the same way that my children are using it. If they learn that you're here, the rules of the game will change. The only reason I knew where to find you is because I'd met you before. Plus, you're in my city. But as far as I can tell, no one knows who you are, and that you're here, and that you have this. And the red pinpricks dart down to your chest before flicking his gaze back up to you. But you need to be careful if you want to get what you came here for.
If I get what I came here for, I suppose I become one of your children, no?
If you want to do the math, then yes, I guess that would be the end result.
So, forgive me, the reason that I laugh is because I am happy. Happy to be afraid. You know, I must congratulate you. You have successfully instilled faith in me, in a way. I have faith that you are honest. You tell me they will kill me for this? Is that what you say?
Some may try to strike a deal. Some, yes, may just kill you for it, as some are more ambitious and greedy for power.
Then, with your infinite wisdom, if I am to continue forward on my own as I had planned, how do you like my odds?
Etuvar steps back and places his hands on either side of his hips, and he looks up at nothing. And he considers for a moment, his jaw moving from side to side. From what I've seen and what I've heard, if you play it right, I think you'll come out of it unscathed. There are, unfortunately, more of my brethren who think that mortals are not as important, not as capable as them, but not with you.
That is not what I asked. But I understand. I understand your answer. Nevertheless, coming out unscathed, playing it right. If you are here trying to make a deal with me, I do not believe that you believe playing it right means playing it alone. You need something from me. Perhaps I need something from you as well. And there is an old piece of wisdom that I live by. 3 points. 3 points make a pattern, and I have been watching. You showed respect to my house, and now to the house of these strangers, which we have not entered against their will. Regardless of your divine right to your city, as you say. That's 1 point. Point number 2, you have shown respect to the smallest of creatures. That is not nothing to me. And point the 3rd, you had the good sense to love her. Now these others, them I do not know. But you and I have a pattern. And if they love you in return, if they trust you, perhaps I have no choice in the matter. I feel I must do the same. So let me propose a deal, if I may.
His eyes narrow at you. He wasn't expecting you to be this bold. But he lets his arms fall to his sides, and he looks at you, expectantly.
If you love her as much as you say, I would ask you to watch my character. Determine for yourself if my intentions are true and just. Help me win this ruby calling without compromising that victory. Provide me intelligence. Tell me of those who would game the system. The gods who are not part of this, who would seek to interfere. Help me to minimize their influence so that I can win on my own merits. And then, when I am standing by her side, when I no longer need this thing, I hold up the necklace. You can have it.
When you hold it up to him, he tenses. There's a way that he holds his posture as he examines this pendant. He looks spring-coiled like a predator about to strike. But strangely, there's a sadness on his face. You don't get the sense that he actually wants it. At least not selfishly.
If not this, then what would you have?
No, You didn't need to strike a deal with me. But if that would make you feel better, then I will accept. It would be safer in my hands than some of the others.
I see. Would it make you feel better if I propose a clause? You say I did not need to strike a deal. And you are right. It does make me feel more at ease with the arrangement being more official. But if I hear those words from her, I love him and I trust him. Verbatim. I do not need to strike a deal with you. We can make it less official. If I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that she trusts you, you will have my undying loyalty.
He chuckles to himself when you say shadow of a doubt. An inside joke to himself, it seems. You are a fascinating man.
Thank you.
The gods can't interfere. It was part of the rules that were created. Now, will all of them stick to it? I am unsure. We have not had a death in the family for 7 years. I don't know who of us, besides Chara, but she's a given, would want to start it up again. I'm hoping no one, but I don't trust them 100%. So I will make sure I do my best to make sure that you survive and remain hidden.
That is a generous offer. But again I say, for this to be a fair contract, I would prefer to give you in return something that you desire, something as valuable to you as that service would be to me.
Is it so hard to believe that all I want is to see every single one of my children happy? The red pinpricks dim a little, as if he's hurt by the implication that a god must demand something from their mortal follower at all times, at any time. You're already doing it by being here, by trying to get to her.
Interesting. If you do not understand that it is hard for me to believe that a god can have unselfish intentions, what that tells me is that you have not been informed about the last conversation I had with a god. Ask around, I'm sure someone will tell you. In any case, I hope that you speak true. I am choosing to believe it. If I understand correctly, what you want of me is for me to stay the course.
There is nothing I could do or say now that would alter the path that you're on.
Still, how strange it is to know your wisdom is not infinite. If you believe this, you have already affected my path. Not in what I will do, but I have opened a door for you to walk through. I know not the consequences of this. I don't even know if it's right, but I think it is. That is a new path for me that has value beyond simply the physical actions of what I do. Why I do them means something to me. It unnerves me if you cannot see this. But perhaps to look at it another way, the comfort that you cannot see all the way into my heart. And I will continue to speak to you as a man. I like you better that way.
Can I tell you a secret?
I don't think that there is any power that I have to stop you from doing so.
And he chuckles a little bit. So do I. And with that, he walks back in what you assume is the way you came. He puts his hand on the handle. You can hear it, turns it, and he opens the door and walks back through the doorway. And you see that he's back on the steps. And as you follow after him, he gently closes the door behind him once you've made it back into the normal world.
I'm coming out of this interaction believing with my whole heart that what he wants is for me to stay the course. Everything else beyond that, I'm working on believing. More evidence is needed, more input. But for now, I feel that I know that what he wants for me to do is stay the course. So, is it fair for me to say that if I turn and walk toward the registration area, waste no more time and go straight to the next step of this process, am I doing what I'm told?
It's more than just staying the course in regards to you. Tlali is the course for him. They are his main concern. You are almost like a means to an end for him. You can tell that he does respect you, and there is a nugget of care for you, but it is tied to Tlali, and it is overshadowed by his concern for them.
I see. Well, what I'm asking is, can I lump this into a do as I'm told move?
You absolutely can, but I wanted to give you a little more context on what you understand the course to be and how you slot into it. So, when you do as you're told, say how you show submission and answer 1. The GM will show you a glimpse of their true intentions as they answer the other. How are you rewarded? And what vulnerability do you reveal? Now, I've already sort of told you just now a little bit of his true intentions, but if there's something deeper that you want to know after we answer these questions, just let me know.
I am more interested in how I am rewarded. I've shown submission, I think, by saying I will do as you're telling me. And I tried to get it in as plain terms as I possibly could, trying to get this logical, contractual sort of understanding and be like, you have changed something in me, and I think that you are likely a good person. So I actually would like to say how I'm rewarded, because I want that bird. I would like that bird with the level of intelligence that it seemed to display to be something of a companion to me now, to be with me, to maybe even be a way to communicate with Etuvar in the future. But I would just like to have a little friend who's free to go about his business, his bird business, however he wants. But if I want him by my side, if I want an extra pair of eyes in the sky, nothing crazy, just a hunter's metaphorical falcon, if you will.
You know what's so awesome about you being you and me being me and us being us is that if you hadn't selected how you're rewarded, I would have given you the bird.
Good thing this is not a visual format. You would give me the bird? That's so rude.
Well, okay, now I don't want to give you the bird. But yes, that was going to be your little guy no matter what. So, yes, you get the bird. You get a little friend, and the bird never left his shoulder. He was in that dark space with you, that whole conversation, and was always with Etuvar. And as soon as Etuvar closes the door and you hear the soft ka-chunk of the door latching, the bird hops from his shoulder and flaps its wings and flies over to land on your shoulder. And in your head, you hear, "Hello? You can hear me now."
That was unexpected, but I accept.
What will you name me? Give me a name.
A name. Difficult to choose from so many excellent options. But today I look out over this city. I tap into that thing that felt right again. Looking back over this artisan district, seeing that people are inclined toward coming together and making things and showing each other the things that they've made for no other reason than connection. And I live in that warmth. All right, my new friend. How do you feel about perfect thing?
Perfect thing. I'm a perfect thing. I'm a perfect thing.
Yes. Yes, you are a perfect thing indeed.
And in this moment, I think the vulnerability that is revealed is, if perfect thing is in your head, Etuvar is in your head. He can be in your head, and you just have to trust that he won't use that fact for anything nefarious.
That will be a difficult road. But in contrast, the actual road looks smooth. And I drop down to the ground, move forward.
You look back over your shoulder, partially at Perfect Thing, but also to see Etuvar one more time, perhaps. But he's not there anymore. He's just gone. You don't know exactly when he left, but you did not notice him leave. And as you walk towards the registration office within the fulcrum, Perfect Thing is excited to explain to you all the ins and outs of the city. And it's just tweeting away in your ear as you come across the towering building that is the Dark's fulcrum. It is immense, and you see a line of burly, hardened, steel-faced individuals forming a line, and you can only assume that they're here for the same reason as you are, or almost the same reason as you are. And as Perfect Thing keeps explaining to you all of the rules, not only of the Ruby Calling, but of the God's Bargain and their own sort of event within an event, we cut to the next day. You are walking with everyone else towards this massive coliseum. You can see it in the distance. At least you can see pinpricks of torchlight in the distance. And there's been a manufactured dirt and gravel road that is lining this procession of competitors. But along the road, periodically, there are purple and blue torches posted into the sides of the road. And as you look off on either side, you notice that you are walking through what looks to be some sort of marshland or bog or swamp. And it occurs to you that 7 years ago, when Osaki was killed, much like every other god that has met their demise, his body fell to the earth of Koe. Very faint earthquakes and aftershocks were felt in the mountains, and the news did not fail to reach even Yali. And you know that his body fell into a landmass directly west of where you are. And you begin to put it together, especially as you've been traveling and studying the divine, as you say. You remember that Aisho, the first betrayed, when they were killed by Chara, the frenzy, their body fell to earth and fell into the ocean and caused a massive earthquake that set off the volcano known as the Maw, and it began to erupt. Imla, the breath, and Farir, the dancer, worked together to stop the pyroclastic flow of the Maw erupting, to cover the entire eastern side, including the Udanu Mountains, in ash and wrecking civilization on that side of the continent. And as you think about that, you think we're somewhat inland right now. We are just south, maybe a little southwest of Etuvaras. There shouldn't be this much water here. Doesn't seem like a natural or healthy bog or swamp. And you think maybe the aftermath of Osaki crashing to the earth caused some sort of tsunami or changed the landscape, maybe changed it to be slightly below sea level, something. And then you look at the torches and they shine a color that you have seen clerics and healers use on your travels over the past month. The clerical district is marked in a purple pen on your map. And you realize that this is radiant magic. You don't exactly know what it's for, but you know that it makes a perimeter around this bog. And the torchlight in the Colosseum is also blue and purple. Is there anything you would like to ask me, clarifying questions that you've just put together? Or is Vos just sort of taking it in as he's focused on the task at hand?
Honestly, I think this information is scrolling like an opening crawl across his mind, like text crawling across his mind, and every so often something sort of bumps into the gray matter of his brain, and he's absorbing it as it occurs to him, but he's not putting anything together. He's a reactionary creature. He's not a great thinker. I'm not someone who let me put it another way. I see the gods and the history of the world very much like a child. Or at least I used to, back when I really gave it any thought at all. Everything outside the mountains and all of the stories that trickled into my home, into my life, it all translates into stories, like telephoning in a way, through all of the channels it has to get to my town. into these very parable-like, fairy tale-like stories, very much like the one that I told Tlali on the day that we met. When I had a relationship to that, that's what it was like. Now, for various reasons, but some very specific reasons, that's all been shattered, and it's kind of a blank slate edging on biased negatively. I think a part of me is actually keeping that information from distracting me because it doesn't change what I have to do and what I came here to do. I am actively resisting caring about anything but her and what I need to do. As I said, what I'm afraid of is distraction. What I'm afraid of is meddling. I'm afraid that I won't be the best version of myself for this task, and I cannot risk failure. Not when I'm so close. So, I just walk forward. Hopefully I can bank some of this for later and it won't just dissolve into my mental bloodstream.
Well, all right. With that, you are standing in the middle of this ginormous, it boggles the mind how big this Colosseum is, how long it must have taken to build. There are thousands upon thousands of vampires illuminated by this blue and purple torchlight. Ruby, amber, and amethyst sparkling eyes, almost reflecting like an animal in the dark, cheering and shouting down at you, and you are with approximately 200 to maybe 225 other competitors who signed up for this Ruby Calling. You were briefed in the night by actual officials, but also, perfect thing, about the rules. No killing if it can be avoided. The point is for the nobility of the empire to pick their champions, which means you have to be alive to, be picked. No serious maiming if you can avoid it. Don't spoil the goods, as it were. Again, the point is everyone is here to potentially serve. Otherwise, show us what you got, is the gist that you received. There's not many other rules than don't make someone useless and don't kill them. And you're looking up and around at the absolute cacophony preparing for the first of these 3 trials that you will have to do. And you're looking around, and are you looking for anyone or anything in particular that isn't Tlali?
I am looking around trying to gauge whether or not I am successfully pushing through the effect of the stone and being able to be seen. Because I understand I don't naturally have much choice in the matter, considering the necklace, but it's tucked away under the poncho. When I move, I make a specific point to make sounds. I use my spear as a walking stick so that it punctuates the ground, forces people to be aware, hopefully, that I am here. Out of respect.
A sense of honor, if you will.
Call it what you will, but I know I'm going to beat these people. I don't intend to kill them. I never intended to kill strangers, but if I injure them, they're They're brave enough to meet me in battle. The least I can do is show them respect. I'm not interested in having an advantage. And even if I fully believe, and I do so believe, that I am stronger than these people, that I will win, we are still all equals here. And I respect that. I respect them. And that respect is shown in the form of my presence. Here I am, notice me.
And everywhere you go, your fellow competitors, they do take notice of you and they size you up. And you know what it is like to tell when someone is a threat to you, is a challenge, is someone to beat. And you can see them make that determination of you. And I don't think you're standing in the exact center of the crowd, but a small berth is given to you. No matter where you choose to stand, you can feel just as many eyes on you on the ground as there are in the stands. And you're looking around, and she truly stands out like a star that fell to earth, even if there are no stars in this sky. And you see in a very ornate, very cushy looking observer's box, Tlali and a couple of other people. From your left, their right, you see Tlali on the far end, looking much the same as when you saw her the day prior. To her left is a vampire who noticeably is quite older than her. He has pale gray skin, much like she does, just without that tinge of purple. Sparkling rubies for eyes with black sclera. He has chin-length, wavy white hair, pure white, white as snow, that is sort of slicked back loosely. And he has a full beard and a pair of those really small round spectacles that make you question how anyone is supposed to use them for any sort of reading or function at all, perched on the bridge of his nose. And he's dressed in all blacks and grays, very fine looking waistcoat, very fine looking heavy durable blazer, and a red cravat. And I think Perfect Thing filled you in on the structure of the nobility and like who's who. So you know that this is Lord Aranthe, head of House Aranthe. The Aranthes are in charge of the artisan district and in charge of trade, goods coming and going, particularly with the eastern side of the world and the capital. And you make that connection now that Tlali must be in this house. I mean, she's sitting right there. Her being from Laka and such a skilled artisan, it makes perfect sense to you why she would be in this house and that she is in fact has risen to nobility. To Lord Aranthe's left, you see the person who Perfect Thing described to you as the sovereign ruler of the entire empire. Sovereign Lilius Villain is a slight but tall person. They have very, very pale skin, not quite as pure white as Lord Aranthe's hair, but very close to it. They have long, wavy hair that falls in front of their burning amber eyes, and they hold a look on their face as if they're almost bored. Like this is a chore to them. No one else seems to notice this. No one else really seems to care. But it strikes you as odd, and you wonder, do they look like this all the time? Or are they truly ambivalent to what's happening right now? They wear pastel purple robes that tie all the way down to the front of the waistline, and they sort of are just sitting and looking over the competition, both literally down at you and everyone else, but around at the spectators in the crowd. They're not making conversation with anyone until to the sovereign's left, further down the line, you see Etuvar himself seated next to them. He leans into Sovereign Verlaine and says something into their ear, and a small smile quirks on their face, but then it goes back to that sort of placid look. And finally, to Etuvar's left, you see one more figure. Lady Izel of House Izel, the sovereign's left hand. She has pale purple skin, red sclerid eyes with burning amber irises. Her hair is jet black and falls in front of her face, not unlike Sovereign Verlaine, but it's shorter and it doesn't reach past her ears. She's wearing a stark white coat with a black fur collar. Underneath is a black corset of some sort of animal hide, it looks like. And unlike Sovereign Verlaine, she is leaned forward, her hands clasped in front of her as she is looking all around the stadium, not just at you and the others, but everyone else in the Colosseum with purpose and judgment. Lord Aranthe is seemingly tied up in a jovial conversation with Tlali, and you watch as Tlali leans over to say something to Etuvar, who leans past Sovereign Verlaine and smiles at her, as if what she said was amusing to him in some way. And then finally, after the crowd has been amped up by one of the sovereign's announcers, amped up and then shushed, you can feel the rumbling in everyone's hearts that something is about to begin, that the competition is ready to start. And it's punctuated by the sovereign standing up. And you see that they put 2 fingers to their throat and they begin to speak. Thank you, everyone, for being here for such a historical and prestigious moment in our empire's grand history. And their voice is amplified so that everyone can hear them. And you watch as their face sort of contorts into a very disarming smile. But because you are watching this whole lineup in this observer's box interact with each other, it doesn't feel quite genuine to you. It feels like they've turned a performance on. A mask has come over their face. Thank you, one and all, for being here and gracing us with your presence as we begin a most distinguished process of finding the next champions of the great empire of Etuvar. The crowd goes wild at the mention of Etuvar's name, and he sort of awkwardly puts a hand up like, hello, yes, I'm here. And the more you watch him and the more you interact with him, the more you begin to understand why he said, "So do I," when you said you prefer to view him as a man. Because it truly appears like he carries himself as one. Very odd that a god doesn't act like a god to you. There will be 3 trials, as I'm sure you're aware. A test of skill, a test of endurance, and a test of strength. These are the qualities we look for most, besides loyalty, of course, in someone who is to be chosen as a corpore champion for our houses. Be aware, most of you will not succeed. And they look down at you and the rest of the competitors. But know that your enthusiasm to serve your empire is well received, and you will be rewarded regardless. They snap their fingers, and their gaze turns back to the crowd in the stands. Now I think we're all hungry for this little competition to begin. What do we say, everyone? And once again, the crowd goes wild, screaming very thoughtless things such as, "Let's see what they got. Let's start. Come on." Very silly crowd things that you would only say when caught up in the moment of a mob. And the sovereign sort of, you can see that their shoulders move up and down, but they don't look like they're laughing. As they put a hand out, palm down, and lower it slowly so that everyone quiets down again. And they just end their speech simply by saying, "Well, I think we're all agreed. Let the games begin."
Has Tlali seen me by this point?
No.
Okay. I make a note of that and make a very quick, selfish decision. I think I communicate in my mind just an impulse to Perfect Thing. Perfect Thing is going to fly up in front of the stands, straight through her field of vision, trying to catch her attention if possible, and then swoop down very quickly, trying to drag her eye line to me as he circles around me very quickly, and then flies off.
And you can see them track Perfect Thing as it is successful in grabbing her attention, and they track him all the way back to you, and you can see the recognition on her face. But she's not given enough time to process it or to really do a double take and confirm that she's seeing what she's seeing, because loud bangs erupt. All around the Colosseum as these firework-type magical pyrotechnics go off to signal the start of this ruby calling, per the sovereign's command. And she looks away to these fireworks. She didn't know that they were going to go off, and she had a bit of a scare. And when she looks back to roughly where you are in the crowd, she doesn't see you anymore. You can tell that she doesn't see you anymore. And so she kind of looks around and looks at her lap, and then shakes it off. Because Lord Aranthe places a hand on hers to check in that she wasn't too scared by the fireworks. And she nods and waves him off with a smile on her face. But you know that she saw you, even if just for a moment. And your eyes drift slightly over to the left of her, over to Etivar, who is staring right at her with a knowing look on his face. And he turns to look at you, and he simply mouths, "Good luck."
That whole time, I had been fidgeting with something in my pocket. And when Etivar looks at me, I lock eyes with him and I pull it out, and I hold up another perfectly smooth rock. Obviously not the same one, but similar. I flip it like a coin, catch it. And a smile crosses my face once again. And I'm not sure if it's voluntary or involuntary. But I let it happen. I bask in it. And I skip the rock across the ground. But I don't stay to watch where it lands. I let it go. And then I fall back, taking my place in the crowd, steeling myself for what's to come.
And as this perfect stone skips across the dirt ground, we watch it bounce, kicking up a small cloud of dust as it does. 1, 2, 3 times. And as it comes to rest, the Colosseum comes alive. Godkiller Retribution is a Chance Encounters production. Your GM, producer, sound designer, and editor is myself, Asteria. The voice of Vos, our Godkiller, is Ian Frost. Godkiller First Blood Edition is by Connie Chung, available on itch.io for purchase. Music provided by Ian Frost and Monument Studios. See you next time, lovers.
Everyone loves my elf floppy penis.
Elf floppy penis.
That sounds like elf floppy penis.
Elf floppy penis.
El floppy penis.
El floppy penis.
Domingo, 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 el floppy penis.